I grew up in church, and it was well into my 20s before I ever had someone explain to me what grace is. What is grace? Grace is the very thing that you don't deserve, but God gives you anyway. It's an encompassing term for what you need in the moment, and grace can look different for different people at different times of their lives. Grace can be love, grace can be peace, grace can be encouragement, grace can be joy, grace can be forgiveness, grace can be mercy. Grace is the very thing that you need, but that you don't deserve, and God shows you anyway. And we as Methodists, we have a very particular view of grace, and I love it. It's one of the things that I love most about being Methodist besides the food. It's this idea of prevenient grace. That God's grace, through the working of the Holy Spirit, goes out before us and is at work in people's lives well before we ever recognize it. That God is showing people grace. The people who help themselves and the people who can't and the people who won't. God is showing grace to everyone. And this grace is a grace that is wooing them to Jesus, drawing them closer and closer. Now they have to accept it, but it's always being shown. So that friend or family member that you so desperately desire to come to faith, know that that is God's heart too. And God is actively at work in their lives, drawing them to Jesus. Now, that doesn't mean that you just sit back and do nothing. Like, we are called to participate with God in that grace, to lead them to Jesus, but know that Jesus is already working them. God's grace goes out to everyone. That's why if you are prejudiced in this life against certain people groups, you're going to be very uncomfortable in the kingdom of heaven. Because God invites everybody. Not everybody accepts, but God invites everyone and shows everyone that grace.